What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to Stand Your Ground. I'm your host, as always, Alex Benson. I am joined by one half of the Mighty Whites podcast, Jack Robshaw.
Yeah, mate, how's things?
Not bad, not bad. How about you?
Pretty good. Finally back on an even keel after being away for like 28 hours at a time due to work and stuff, so we're all good now.
If you did miss last week's episode, both Jack and Casey were scheduled to be on. We were doing a Euro 2021 England squad predictions, doing the 23-man squad. Obviously, work then got in the way, so I did a solo man show by myself. As Casey put it, I did a Joey Styles.
Yeah, but you know, on behalf of Leeds United podcast, Mighty Whites podcast, I just have to say Ayling, Bamford, Shackleton. I mean, sod it, we'll have Pascal Struijk. I mean, he's not even eligible, but he should be in.
To be fair, with the way that he's been playing recently, there's arguments to say yes.
Yeah, to be honest, genuinely, when it comes to Leeds, Bamford probably should get in a squad for one of the games coming up beforehand to give him a go, see what it looks like. But I don't actually think he'll end up in the squad for the Euros.
Do you think he'll appear in the March friendlies that we have coming up?
That's when I think he's earned a call up for them. I would like to see him involved in them, even though I don't think long term he'll be there. I think it'd be an interesting option because of the style of play that he has. I think that work rate and stuff up front would be. I mean, obviously Kane's first choice and should be. We've got plenty of options, but I think he would be a good option for the squad. But I don't think he'll go.
Yeah, to be fair, it's a shame. I know that people have been throwing around the English goal scorers, Bamford being joint top with Kane and Dominic Calvert-Lewin, but I think his direct approach and his work rate doesn't transfer into an England side. Like, we don't play that style of football.
Nah, as I say, I think he's worth a go, and to be honest, after a season playing under Bielsa, I'm all right with having a bit of a rest of it summer.
Yeah. Do what Man United used to do and just tell all players to avoid international friendlies. Get your fitness back.
And then go on to manage your national team.
Yeah. Before we do go into the main bulk of this, something that was announced during the Chelsea-Man United game, Glenn Roeder sadly passed away at the age of 65. He was a defender, played for Leyton Orient, QPR, Notts County, Newcastle, Watford and Gillingham, and then had a managerial career at Watford, West Ham, Newcastle and Norwich as well.
Yeah, like, obviously I don't remember him as a player, it's before my time, but my main memories of him are, like, I can remember him quite strongly as when he was in the West Ham and Newcastle phase of his management. Like, I know he managed Norwich for 2 years, but to be honest, I don't really remember that either. But the time that he was West Ham manager and then Newcastle manager, he seemed to do a pretty good job there. But mostly, he seemed like quite a nice guy, and everyone who spoke about him says he was very personable. I know Don Hutchinson put a thing on Twitter about the way that he helped him deal with when his dad died and stuff. So he seems to have been, above all, like a good bloke, and that's the main thing with him. It's a shame, and he'd had a brain tumor. He'd been ill for quite a while as well. So, you know, thoughts with his friends and family. It's a shame. Hopefully, if he was in any pain, he isn't now.
Yeah, it's definitely a sad thing when you look back at his career as well. It's only 2018 when he was last involved in football. He was the managerial advisor for Stevenage. So it's a very short space of time between leaving football to then sadly passing away. But as you said, our thoughts and condolences are with his family and friends at this sad time.
Yeah, like I've just looked, and it was 18 years ago he first got diagnosed with the brain tumor. So it's been going on a long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a real shame.
So, fortunately, we'll move on from that. The game roundup. We didn't really do a game roundup last week because it was me by myself, and I'm not going to have an argument with myself about how I thought the games went. And we'd also missed a week before that. So this is the first time that we've done a game week roundup in about 3 weeks.
Mm.
So form has changed.
Yeah.
But one thing that hasn't changed is Man City are winning.
They're a decent side, aren't they? It's
something says that maybe bringing Ruben Diaz in was a decent shout.
Yeah, they're very, very, very good. Although, to be fair, they were, I don't want to say lucky, because when you play the football they do and you play as well, then you deserve a bit. But they could have easily not won this game against West Ham. Like they had a fair few chances.
To be honest, if West Ham could have got that final pass right, they had a few good chances to break. I mean, as weird as it is to say, Jesse Lingard looked quite good for West Ham in this game.
I was going to say he's been really good playing as an attacking mid. He seems to have his confidence back. He looks like the player he was a few years ago. Like I remember there was a few Leeds fans when he became available, because Leeds could do with another number 8 to play as an attacking number 8. And there was a few Leeds fans saying we should be trying to get him on loan. And I'll be honest, I thought, nah. Because I know Lingard has had some issues in his personal life and stuff that won't have helped his form on the field. And that's unfortunate. It wasn't his fault. But I just didn't think he was the same player that he was. And I thought, nah, I'm not really interested. And now I look at him and think, yeah, he'd probably be quite a good signing, actually. But I don't think we could have paid his wages, because he's 100 odd grand a week, isn't he? So.
Yeah, I mean, he's on ridiculous wages for such a young talent. He's got such a future ahead of him.
Yeah, he did kind of take over that Joe Cole thing, didn't he? Of being, he's such a good, talented young player. And people were still saying that about Joe Cole when he was 30. Happened with Theo Walcott as well.
Yeah. But yeah, Ruben Diaz getting his first goal for Man City with that header, Mikel Antonio then levelling it just before half-time, and then John Stones following up from his first goal for Man City this season with his second. John Stones really wants to be...
It's his second against West Ham, but I think it's his 4th goal in about 9 games or something for Stones.
Yeah, it's like John Stones is trying to get into that England side or something.
Well, he's in current form. He deserves to be back in. He's been really, really good. He's if I was being Sid Waddell, I'd say it's biggest comeback since Lazarus. But no, he's been very good.
Yeah. Obviously, City have now made a huge gap between them and everyone else, kind of like Liverpool did last year, where they just made such a gap that I think everyone's expecting by the time it comes to May for Pep Guardiola to be lifted another trophy for Man City. Is the part of you thinking, though, although they've got this massive gap now, would you take your foot off the gas and probably focus on the Champions League?
I think the Champions League will be their quote-unquote focus. But in truth, Man City's squad is so good, and they are now playing so well and with such confidence that it don't really matter. They've been averaging 5 changes per game.
Yeah.
I think that the stat was since Christmas or something, but they're averaging 5 changes per match. So the players won't be absolutely knackered. They've got such a brilliant squad, and they can just keep taking people out, putting new ones in. So they're not going to burn the players out. So they really can go for it in every competition. I never think that a team is going to win all 4, because it's really unlikely that it happens. But of the chances, this is probably one of the best chances you'll get.
Yeah. To be honest, they've done it, though, really without a key striker either, because Aguero's been injured quite a bit. Jesus is not that clinical goal scorer that people expected him to be. They've tossed around between playing De Bruyne, Sterling, Mahrez and Foden as the focal point in attack, and they're still this far ahead. It's either a testament to how good Man City's squad is, or it's a testament to how good Pep Guardiola is as a manager, and that's up to debate.
Yeah, well, both are true. Like, for instance, Man City's squad is that good that, like, I should be able to get them in the top 4. Just any, that squad is that good that you should just be able to put them on the pitch, and they should be able to beat most teams. But also, Pep Guardiola is very, very good at what he does. And that combination is like, obviously, I feel it's one of the few things where I can never sit there and think, yeah, I got that right. Because when they were 13th or whatever it was and couldn't win a game, I came on here and said they'll still win the league. And now they're 12 points clear. But this Man City, the way they're playing now, they look as strong as they've looked at any point to me. And it's like, obviously, De Bruyne is back now. And like that left-footed ball in he put for Ruben Diaz's goal was absolutely brilliant. But De Bruyne has come back into a side, but his absence has resulted in Ilkay Gundogan stepping up his performances massively. So now, instead of relying on De Bruyne week in, week out, they have a second option. He's not the same. They're not the exact same kind of player, but the impact that they were having was similar. So now, because, you know, 3-4 years ago, as great a side as they were, you were looking at them, they kind of were relying on Aguero for goals. Now, I don't think they're relying on any one individual. No. Even to an extent with Ederson, because they concede so few, because they're so dominant in most games, and Zach Steffen looks like a pretty good backup. So they're the one team that the difference between them and, like, for instance, Liverpool, who have been very unlucky with injuries, as have a few other teams. They don't mention it, but they have. If Man City had a full-on injury crisis, they're the ones that I still think could just cope with it because the squad is that strong. They've got 2 for each position and sometimes more.
Yeah, I was just checking then because you said they've been about Gundogan coming to the side and then not relying on Aguero to score the goals. Gundogan's got 11 goals and 1 assist in 20 matches this season in the Prem, which is phenomenal for a player that people thought was probably too injured to ever make a decent fist of it in the Premier League.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's years ago that he was brought in now from Dortmund, but this Gundogan this season has stepped up a level from previous seasons at Man City.
Yeah. Moving on to West Brom versus Brighton. West Brom getting a 1-0 win, but not without controversy. Do you think the free kick should have stood?
I think that it should have stood, the goal. But only because Lee Mason shouldn't have blown his fucking whistle in the first place. You know, now, if he says, can I take it quickly? And he says yes. At that point, he doesn't actually need to blow the whistle. He's given him the permission. But once he blows the whistle to say he can take it, so he can take it. Lee Mason screwed up because he hasn't gone, can he take it quickly? And if he looks and sees the keeper stood by that post and thinks no, then he just says no. That's all it is. But he said yes, blew the whistle, let him take it. And he panicked. As soon as he kicked it, that's when he noticed where Sam Johnston was stood. And blew whistle again before it crossed the line. It was just, you know, when it's like that thing. You know, when you fuck something up and then in trying to fix it, you break 3 other things. Well, that's what Lee Mason did in this game. He made a bad call and then made it worse by blowing his whistle again. He then made it worse again by going back on it and giving the goal. And then he went to VAR to disallow it. He made 1 bad error at the start and it turned into 4.
Yeah.
It was just an abysmal piece of... Like, for instance, this is not like... Obviously, I'm close to it because I'm a Leeds fan. But on Tuesday night when we beat Southampton, they were up in arms about them having a goal disallowed. But they didn't ask to take a quick free kick. They took it before the whistle blew. They took it and then the whistle blew. That's different. This was an absolutely atrocious piece of refereeing. And I am assuming that Lee Mason, the round of fixtures next weekend, suddenly he won't have a game assigned.
Yeah, but I imagine also, so.
As bad as it was, and it was shite refereeing, that's not why Brighton lost.
No, Brighton were shit.
They weren't shit. They were shit at finishing. They were miles the better side up until the final shot. But, you know, if you miss 2 penalties, then you've only yourself to blame. And having watched Leeds United, normally when you're playing well and lose games, it's quite often, well, we had all these chances and we didn't take them. And that's what they did. I mean, and they've done it consistently now for, I have no idea how many games, but I know that they've, like the XG table, Brighton are something like 4th or 5th.
Yeah.
And that, like in this game, they had 2 penalties that hit the woodwork. They had the Aaron Connolly basically open goal that he skied. And they had 4 or 5 other good chances, and they didn't take any of them. And they're just woefully out of form in front of goal. And, Sam Allardyce manages West Brom, so they sat back, defended well, and scored from a set piece. That's exactly what you'd expect from them.
Yeah. Brighton losing this, though, means that both them and Newcastle are now within 3 points of Fulham, who occupy that final relegation spot. I believe, if I'm right, Wednesday. Oh, no. Is it the Thursday they play? Yeah, West Brom have got Everton, Fulham have got Spurs, and then the Friday will be Brighton's match. Do Brighton not have a match in midweek?
There's a few that don't. Like, we don't have a midweek game. Our next game is Monday. A week on Monday. There's a little bit all over the place. There's a few teams with games in hand and stuff. So
yeah, it just seems strange because each team has now, well, those 3 teams have played 26 each, and both Fulham and Newcastle play, but Brighton don't. So God knows. But moving on to a game another game with a few refereeing mistakes, and one that you probably don't want to talk about a lot. Villa 1, Leeds 0.
There's not a great deal to talk about. It's what we'll say is it's a very rare occurrence. This a match where Marcelo Bielsa is the manager of one of the sides, and it was dull. You don't see that very often.
No.
Our pitch didn't help the game as a spectacle because our pitch is shite, and I was going to say is going to hurt someone, but Aurelio Mayo is out for the season with a fractured ankle, and the pitch at the very least played a part in that. Obviously, they scored early on. Watkins goes to shoot, slips on the pitch, turns it into a good cross. El Ghazi, really good first touch. Simple finish after he does the really good first touch. And after that goal, Villa, and there's no wrong with doing this, sat back, put themselves in a low block, defended well. And to be honest, we didn't look like scoring until that Rafinha headed chance right in the last minute. That was our one. Tyler Roberts had a pretty good chance in the first half, and then the Rafinha header. We just didn't do enough with the ball in attacking areas in this game. We couldn't break them down. It was a very, very annoying game to watch. Like, Diego Llorente for us flopped on the floor and rolled about like hell when there was no wrong with him and pissed off all the Leeds fans. And then despite that, Villa still managed to come off as the divers of the game. It was like, Jack Grealish is catching because they're all at it now, every single one of them. And then, the refereeing, how Matt Targett didn't get sent off is absolutely beyond me. The thing he got booked for was a foul that could have been a yellow by itself because it was quite cynical, followed by stopping a quick free kick, followed by stopping a quick free kick again, followed by diving on the floor, which got click booked. And then 5 minutes after that, he goes in, studs up on Rafinha's Achilles and stamps down on him, which is definite yellow. And then a couple of minutes after that, goes up for a header. And although I don't think he meant to elbow him, it would still be a yellow. Elbowed Pablo Hernandez in the back of the head and took him out. But again, it isn't the refereeing that got us beat in this game. We just didn't play very well. We're a mid-table side. Some games we'll play well, some games we don't. This one we didn't.
Do you think on another day, do you think VAR should be able to step in after seeing that elbow and say, no, actually, that's a second yellow. He needs to go off? Maybe,
but in truth, I don't want to give VAR any more power than it already does because I don't like it. I honestly, it has got to, because they're still getting decisions wrong.
Yeah,
I would rather it was just the referee getting decisions wrong rather than that plus the delay of the game and still getting it wrong. I know that there are some, like for instance, against the Southampton game in midweek, when Nathan Teller knocked the ball past Llorente and then Teller kicked Llorente and threw himself on the floor, and the ref on the pitch gave a penalty, and VAR overturned it. It can be good, but at the minute, I wouldn't say it's fair. So I wouldn't want to give him the power to give yellows, especially for that, because as much as I think that definitely was a yellow, I don't think you could say 100%. I think you could say 97%.
All right, okay, but I wouldn't say, all right, not a first yellow, but if it's a second yellow, it's going to see a player sent off, and it's that Rafinha challenge. There's an argument to say.
There's definitely an argument for it. It'd be interesting to see if they tried it, but as I say, I'm very much reticent to give it any more power than it already does.
Yeah. So we'll move on to the final game of that Saturday. Newcastle won, Wolves won. A big point for Newcastle and dropped points, you'd think, in Wolves' case.
Having watched the game, I think Wolves will be delighted. Newcastle should have won this game, for me.
Yeah.
I thought they looked the better side right through. They missed a few really good chances, and they should have had it sewn up in the first half, I thought, with the level of performance. They could have really done with winning this game, because they really are getting sucked into it. And if someone is going to get dragged into it and go down who isn't in the current bottom three, that's who I think it'll be.
Yeah, I thought, looking at the teams that are currently occupying the bottom three and the clubs that are closest to it, I think Fulham can scrape themselves out of it, and I could see Newcastle getting relegated this season.
Yeah, they definitely could. Like, for instance, as much as Brighton have got dragged in, points-wise, we're only 3 above, because they are playing that well up until the finishing, I do think that they're bound to get some results at some point. So I think they'll be, and I rate Graham Potter as a manager. Like, I saw someone on Twitter saying, God, at this rate, these players missing chances, they're going to end up managing to get Graham Potter sacked. And if that does happen, I think there'll be a queue of 20 clubs trying to hire him. Yeah. I'm not going to say that, he's not like the best manager in the country or anything, but he's a really good one. And there's a lot of teams could do a lot worse.
Yeah, Schalke might want him.
Yeah, well, I mean, hiring Christian Gross is just an admission that you're giving up, I think.
Yeah, they were one step away from signing Klaas-Jan Huntelaar on a loan deal to the end of the season.
Well, I mean, he might as well be manager. He'd be better than Christian Gross.
Yeah. So on to the Sunday games, and a team that needed if they'd got these 3 points, it would have been, you would have said it would have a fair result. Fulham 0, Palace 0, but Fulham battered Palace in this game.
Yeah, this one I've only seen the quick highlights of because I was working. But going off what the Palace were basically going, we've got 4 points from our last 2 games, and I have no idea how, because they got battered into the ground by Brighton and won 2-1, and then they've got battered into the ground by Fulham and got a 0-0 draw.
Yeah,
they're like Roy. That isn't but Roy Hodgson keeping them solid is managing to grind out results. No, that was just straight up lucky with them too. There's no, but if you take it when you get it. Palace are really dull, like a really dull side, and it's not even like they're so poor that they need to be in order to get anything. They've got enough good players that they could be more interesting than this, but they're just not.
You knew this game was going to be a boring one from Palace's side. 1, Wilfried Zaha's injured. 2, they made 1 sub all game, and they took Eze off and put James McCarthy on. They managed 3 shots with none on target to Fulham's 16 with 4 on target.
Yeah, Fulham probably needed to do a bit more with the ball that they had from the bits that I saw on the highlights, but there was only 1 team in that game. But yeah, and Fulham can't really afford to waste opportunities like that in the position they're in.
Is there right? I don't. Everyone's going to say that Christian Benteke is not that lethal striker that he was when he was playing for Villa. It's clear he does not score the same goals as what he used to. They signed Jean-Philippe Mateta on loan from Mainz and had him on the bench for this game. He scored a goal against Brighton. He's looked lively up top. And I thought the front three of him, Zaha and Eze would be a decent combination for these. And they seem to be sticking by playing people like Townsend, Ayew, Benteke. Like, I think Roy Hodgson needs to go.
I think I don't think there's no point sacking him because they have got enough points. You know, they're 13th, they're 10 points clear at relegation zone. So they've got enough points. And I think that I think he's going to give it up at the end of the season anyway. So it's probably easier to just make the change then. But yeah. I don't think they can progress with Hodgson in charge at the minute.
So we'll move on to next game, which is Leicester 1, Arsenal 3. Didn't see this result coming.
No, Leicester are a bit weird lately. I mean, obviously they're a really good side. I'm not having a go at them by any means, but they have been a bit odd this last few weeks. You're never really sure what you're going to get out of them.
Yeah. I think the main thing for Leicester is they're going to really miss Harvey Barnes for his expected 6-week injury that he's got.
Is that how long they reckon it's going to be?
Yeah,
He's a really good player, he's Barnes, but they do have, plenty. They do have options. Not loads. I mean, it is a step down, but they've got, they could play Cengiz Under out there. Obviously, Albrighton can play and they can switch. Probably you could switch Pereira at left back and move Thomas up.
Yeah.
They haven't got loads of options, but they should be okay.
Well, was Vardy in the side for them today?
Yeah, he was.
Cool. Yeah. So Vardy's back from
injury. Him and Iheanacho started, which surprised me.
Yeah, playing two up top for Leicester is not really like them. But yeah, it's Arsenal picking up this win. I still don't think Arteta's the right man for the Arsenal side, or they've just done what Arsenal normally do and have signed the wrong players in the transfer windows.
Yeah, I think the issue is that Arsenal are higher up than who's coaching them at the minute. They completely gutted all the scouting department and started it again, and they're not really sure where they stand with it. I would stick with Arteta just because I don't think he's done anything to make me think, oh, he's doing brilliant. But I'm not sure that they've got many better options out there unless they're gonna go all out and get a really top level coach, someone with loads of experience. I'm not even sure who they get, to be honest. So
Graham Potter.
Yeah, Graham Potter, Chris Wilder. You know what? There was a point before they got Arteta where genuinely I think Chris Wilder wouldn't have been the worst option for at the point where they were playing free at the back every week and stuff. I thought this wouldn't be the worst idea.
Yeah, maybe he might have had the sense to, not give David Luiz another contract. But to be fair to him, did score.
Yeah, it was a good goal. I mean, Arsenal did come back and win, and by the end they deserved the win as well. But that opening goal for Leicester from Tielemans, where he just picks the ball up and just runs into the box 30 yards and no one goes near him.
Yeah,
it was absolutely dreadful defensively. But good set piece from Willian, good header from David Luiz. The penalty for Lacazette, fair enough, it was a pen. And then Nicola Pepe tapping in another Willian assist, because Willian's had all the pelters in the world. And to be honest, from what I've seen of him, rightly so, but 2 assists today, so a bit better from him.
We've got a comment from Alfirth saying they've paid over the odds for a lot of their signings because they are a big English club. It's the same with I was going to say top 6, but Arsenal are no longer a top 6 side.
No, that win has dragged them above Leeds United into 10th.
It is a case of, it seems to be, if a Premier League side comes in for somebody, add an extra 15 mil on.
Unless it's Man United and then you add 25, because they'll pay it.
Yeah. Yeah. If we think we need him, we will pay that. So we'll move on to Spurs versus Burnley. And I was really hoping that Harry Kane would just go on an absolute demolition of this match because I played triple captain on him in the fantasy league. But no, Gareth Bale, it's like he used to be a decent footballer or something.
Yeah. Well, he came off the bench. I can't remember who it was against, but he came off the bench like a couple of weeks ago and looked really good. He looked a lot more like himself. And then today, this is another one where unfortunately I didn't get to see all of it. But 2 goals and an assist. The second goal from Bale's second one was a really nice finish. He had way too much time and could basically do what he wanted with it, but he finished it really well. The first one was just a great ball in for. I can't remember who. I think it was Son, wasn't it? In swinging ball from the left that just left Bale in acres to finish it.
It was strange seeing Spurs play a 4-3-3 and having Lucas Moura in the midfield, but he seemed to adjust to playing that position really well, and playing him, Aurier, and Bale on the same side seemed to work really well. Yeah,
well, I mean, the good thing is, if you're going to have the amount of ball and the amount of pressure and stuff that Spurs had in this game, you can play like Moura playing as part of a midfield in like a 4-2-3-1 is fine. To be honest, he could have played as one of the deep midfielders because he didn't really need to. He could have pushed on with how dominant they were in this game. They'd have been fine. Yeah, and also the return to the Premier League for Dele Alli as well. Yeah. It's weird, Dele Alli, because he's a really good player. I really rate him. There was part of me going, go on, Mourinho, really bomb him out, and then ship him to Ellen Road. Give Bielsa 6 months with him, and he'll be England's best midfielder. Yeah, we'll go to the Euros with a partnership of Dele Alli and Calvin Phillips. It was nice to see him back, and to be fair, with the goal that he scored in the Europa League as well, can't argue with him being back in that side. Yeah, we're belting over. That's actually all I saw of that Europa League game, with that goal. But onto the final match that's just taken place, a really dull... Well, I was going to say dull, but for the first 20 minutes, this game looked like it was going to be really lively. And then it wasn't. Yeah, then something happened. The second 0-0 to happen between Man United and Chelsea this season. It was just a shite game with us, mate. The like they said on the commentary, the moment that epitomised this game was McTominay breaking down the field, having 3 people to cross it to, and pulling it back to the edge of the 18-yard area for Kante to just intercept. Yeah. There was a distinct lack of quality in the final third from both sides, I thought, in this game. Like Mason Mount had some nice moments in there. Pulisic did when he came on. But the truth is, I didn't think either side particularly looked like scoring. No. There was a couple of decent saves forced, but nothing major. The problem is that 0-0 was a result that was perfectly fine for both teams. So yeah. I don't think there was any real desire to push on and win it. I'll give credit to David De Gea because there's a pullback in the first half, and I think it's Hudson-Odoi that strikes it, and he makes a good reflex save, and then Luke Shaw blocks the follow-up. Oh no, that's the second half. Blocks the follow-up from Reece James, and that was about as exciting as it got. Chance. That one was a decent chance. Yeah, I remember that now. But VAR being a fucking dimwit again and not giving that penalty. Yeah, it's one of them where I can understand people saying, I don't want that to be given as handball. And like 5 years ago, you could say that. But by the rules as they are now, that is handball. His arm's out in front of him off to the side. It doesn't need to be there. And he flicks it with his hand. I don't think he meant that. I think he just misjudged the ball. But it's handball now. Do you agree with Gary Neville and
Was it Matt and Tyler, or was it Andy Townsend the other?
Well, it will have been Matt and Tyler. To be honest, I quite often tune out commentary now because so much of it is so bad. But Gary Neville's quite good. But it won't be. But Andy Townsend's a co-commentator, not a commentator. It's always Tyler and Neville.
Yeah, it'll probably be Matt and Tyler then. They both said that the Chelsea players should have been booked for shouting at the ref while the ref was looking at the VAR monitor.
Well, probably they should, but they should also get booked for getting in the ref's face and shouting at him and for swearing at the ref and the million things that they do all the way through the game and no one ever gets booked for. Well, I say no, I say never. Okay, once out of every 100 times they might get booked for it.
The current game that's going on at the moment is Sheffield United versus Liverpool. 18 minutes in, it's 0-0. There's your update. And as we started last week, we'll continue with it. Premier League table, just an overall look. Man City being 12 points ahead. United occupying the second place position, a point ahead of Leicester. Then West Ham being fourth with 45. Chelsea 44 and Liverpool 41.
So real. I'm amazed. I know they've got a lot of injuries, but I am amazed at this run of Liverpool form.
Yeah, if they lose or draw today, it's 6 games without a win for Liverpool in the league.
Yeah, like don't get me wrong, they have plenty of injuries and stuff. And it's not like, oh, Klopp's doing terrible, they should sack him. It's nothing like that. But I just think that they have enough good players that even with all the injuries, I cannot believe they've managed to have this poor a run of form.
Yeah, I think it's harsh for...
And Henderson's out for like 10 weeks now as well, isn't he?
Yeah, and I think he's out as well. Alisson's out, so they're playing Adrian today.
Yeah.
So, although the defence is lacking, you would still expect Firmino, Mane and Salah to be able to get this team further up the table.
Well, without wanting to make it all Leedsy because I am one to do that, I mean, we haven't had fully fit centre-backs all season.
Yeah.
There are other teams that have had these issues and we've managed to get some results. As don't go wrong, it's not just that Van Dijk is out, it's Van Dijk and Gomez and Matip being out. But they should have been able to get better results than they have the last 5 games.
Yeah, I have seen some Liverpool fans on like Premier League pages questioning Klopp's substitutions, bringing people on like Origi and Shaqiri, but they're the players that he's got to he can't put on somebody who's injured. Like that is the squad that he's been handed. He has to do what he has to do with that side.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then at the bottom of the table, you're looking Sheffield United on 12 points, West Brom on 17, Fulham on 23, Newcastle 26, Brighton on 26, and Burnley on 28. And Southampton, my tip to be, win the league, a 14th with 30 points.
Yeah, that is what it thinks. Teams being, even Burnley and Southampton being 5 points and 7 points clear of relegation. The seasons where you'd think, 7 points, they could still get sucked into it. But I just don't see it this season. I think the teams at the bottom really...
Yeah.
I can't see it. Fulham are the only ones I could see picking up enough results to maybe stay up. And I can't see them going on a great run. Like the season before they won the league where Leicester won like 6 of the last 8 or whatever it was. I can't see any team outside of like Man City, Liverpool, Man United, and Chelsea with the players they've got. I can't see anyone other than them like 4 who might win 6 in a row. Even though like Leicester are 3rd, I couldn't see them winning 6 games in a row. Like just having a great run. Same with West Ham, even though they're 4th. And all the way through mid-table. I think this season's a bit weird for stuff like that.
I think if you offered West Ham a 5th place finish this season, they will snap your hand off.
And they should. They absolutely should.
Yeah. Yeah, because I tipped them to get relegated.
So did I.
So before we move on to our main topics after the game roundup. I'm just going to play a quick promo video that's going to show you all the live shows that go on here at the Buzz.
War. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Bringing that to competitors. Till we see the confetti fall, be ready for war. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Bringing that to competitors. Till we see the confetti fall, be ready for war. Tell them I'm ready, any opponent. The crown heavy and every minute is chosen. A path only fit for kings, and you don't know what this court means. What did you enlist for? If it isn't getting more rings, then you gon' have to switch your team. Trust me, it gets more mean. I'm a nightmare going up against your dreams. First step is explosive like a bomb hit. Bet if I let it fly, I cannot miss. And you ain't got a chance at the top 10 when you getting clamped all night by your locksmith. On the block throwing lobs to my top bigs. I'm a chef, no look with the top dish. Tie game through the pressure as the clock ticks. Crossover, step back, hit a shot, switch.
Yeah, they're the fantastic shows that go on here live on the Buzz. Make sure that you follow us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram at WTBdotcom. I'll go to the website at WhatTheBuzz.com to read all the fantastic articles that are also put out by our amazing writers. But moving on to one of the main topics of this show, the double fixtures. Are they a bigger problem this season with the lack of rest that we had between the end of last season to the start of this season?
I mean, obviously, we don't get to see the underlying data and things like that, but you would have thought so. And based on some of the performances you're seeing and some of the duller, less energetic games, it certainly looks that way as well. A lot of it is just bad fixture management and stuff. And I know it comes down to TV and stuff, but the number of times that you'll see a team playing in midweek in Europe and then being the early kickoff on Saturday, and just things like that don't need to happen. I know BT always get the early kickoff on the Saturday. That's their slot. So if they pick a game, that's where it gets moved to. But there's no actual reason why the BT game couldn't be the late kickoff on the Saturday that week because they all play on the Sunday because they've picked it and they happen to play on Wednesday.
Yeah, I know there's money thrown towards these TV deals, and obviously BT did pay a lot of money. I think it was before 2020. I think they paid a hell of a lot to exclusively get so many Premier League games, and they specifically said they wanted the early kickoff on the Saturday, and I think they wanted at least 2 games on the Sunday as well. But it doesn't work. If the Premier League should be able to put the fixtures out and go, these are the fixtures, these are the games that you've got for TV.
Yeah, I mean, obviously this season's a bit weird because they're all on TV. But they in other countries, they manage the teams that have got... If a team plays mid, they're more willing to move things around to make it easier on the players. And I mean, I know that it's... Even I have that voice that goes, fuck them, they're all millionaires, let's run them into the ground, who gives a shit? But it does end up leading to poorer games by the end. It's like, as much as I will, of course, watch it and enjoy it, provided nothing goes wrong and it all goes ahead. But I think the Euros this summer are going to be shite because all the players are going to be absolutely exhausted. And, you're going to end up with a lot of players. But if we keep running them in the way we are, you're going to get some players who, this player is brilliant and he's 28 and he's going to be done at 32.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just got sent a message. I run the Leeds United website on the side as well, called Through It All Together. And I was Leeds under 23s play Palace under 23s tomorrow, so I was sorting out the coverage for that. Palace, because they're at home, get to decide on the coverage. They're not letting Leeds put it on the YouTube channel. Leeds put all their under 23 games on YouTube, and they're charging £3 to watch it at Palace to watch the under 23s. So I guess the website's not covering the game then. Because I'll tell you what, SB Nation will not be reimbursing me £3 for that. And I refuse on principle to pay Palace £3 to watch the under 23s play.
Well, there you get a peek behind the curtains.
Yeah, so I just got the message and I was in absolute disbelief. How can you charge £3 to watch an under-23 game? You shouldn't be able to charge £3 to watch it in person.
Yeah, it's one of those things that you turn up at a training ground. Well, if you're Leeds United, they all know about turning up at training grounds, watching through fences, taking notes.
Yeah, but you don't have to pay if you're watching through a fence, mate.
Yeah, don't ask Frank Lampard about it though.
No, because he'll lie and say we broke into the training ground and the place was calling with police, even though the police came out and said he is lying.
Police were all over the ground. Yeah, I think you're right with the whole midweek fixtures and people being made to play, especially the Europa League games. If you are playing on a Thursday and then having to play on the Saturday as well, there's no way your players are going to be 100% fit, ready for that game on the Saturday. No matter if you're the early kickoff or the late kickoff, it's still going to have a big effect on you. But then again, this is one of the things of, if you finish at the top of the table, well, it's a punishment but a reward as well.
Yeah, I mean, generally, if you play on the Thursday, I think that they do. I think that they now actually have it as a rule that you can't play Saturday if you play on the Thursday. But as I said, that's one of the things with the squad. Like, obviously, I'll again use Leeds as an example because they're the closest one to me. There was a lot of Leeds fans got a bit excited when we went on a good run and thought, oh, we might be able to sneak into Europe here. And technically we still could, but I don't think for a second we will. But in terms of actually for the development of Leeds United, if we snuck into 7th and snuck into the Europa League, it would probably end up being a bad thing for that very reason. You can only cope with that kind of schedule if you've got a big squad. So I would agree for minimum wage. Yeah, fair. But so for some teams, like if you're Man City, it don't really matter because the squad's good enough to cope. But
yeah,
you really are. But I think you could get the same number of games in and just balance the fixtures a bit better, and it'd probably work out a lot better.
I know they're rushing fixtures to be finished in time for players to have a bit of a rest before they go on international duty for the Euros, and then at least have a decent break before we start the Premier League back up for the next season. It's done with all the best intentions in the world, but it's also not helping.
Yeah.
But we already spoke about midweek competition returning. European competitions returned as well. Well, last week before when I did the England squad. I'll pick a few shock results out. PSG absolutely battering Barcelona 4-1.
Yeah, PSG winning isn't that much of a shock, but the manner of it was, because it was a real hammering. Mbappe, everyone knows how good he is, but even by his standards, he looked really good in this game.
Dortmund 3, Sevilla 2. I did not realise that Pablo Gomez had gone to Sevilla until he started playing this game.
He was meant to stay at Atlanta forever, but like he wasn't meant to ever go anywhere.
Yeah,
it feels weird somewhere else.
Well, blame the manager because the manager put him on the bench. He didn't like it. There was some falling out behind the scenes. He's gone. They could have done with him.
Yeah, I mean, he'd been there for like 7-8 years or something, hadn't he? But what I would say is, I'm not going to slag off Gianpiero Gasperini because the football they play is absolutely outstanding.
Porto beating Juve 2-1. This was terrible by Juve.
I only saw the result of this. I didn't see any of the game, really.
Both from the first half and the second half, they conceded very early goals from poor back passes to keeper. Ronaldo, I believe it was Ronaldo, got them a goal. Chiesa got them a goal back, but they just didn't look up to it. Defensively, they were trying to pass around the back and just putting themselves in so much so much pressure. Like Porto was just playing a high press, and they didn't know how to get around it.
Yeah.
Bayern obviously doing what Bayern do, but battering Lazio 4-1.
Yeah.
Lazio, who was my pick to win the Europa League, they didn't get knocked out of the group stages. So, and what were you gonna say?
I didn't say anything then, mate.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something.
No.
And then City obviously beating Mönchengladbach 2-0. We also have the return of the Europa League. I won't go through the Europa League scores, but we'll go through the fixtures that have been drawn for the next round. The return of Zlatan to Old Trafford, AC versus Man United.
I fancy Milan for that tie.
The way they've played this season, you won't put it past them. Dynamo Kiev versus Villarreal. To be honest, was it Villarreal or is it Valencia the team? Valencia's the team that are in like dire straits for money.
Yeah, financially they're completely screwed. That's why, they turned down sort of 60 million for Rodrigo a year and a half ago from like Barcelona, and then we've ended up signing him for like 27 million. They needed to get players off the books and do it quick. They lost loads. They lost Kondogbia as well. They've lost so many.
They lost.
But Yunus Musa looks really good.
That young Englishman.
Yeah, he is English, but he's also American, and he's played for USA at youth level, and he was born in New York. So we'll have to see what he ends up picking.
But FIFA being FIFA have got him down as an England international.
Yeah, mind you, that it's like Jamal Musiala at Bayern, who looks really good. He's picked Germany, hasn't he, this week, having played for England at youth level.
Yeah, he played all the way up to under 20s as an England international, and now has decided to play for Germany.
Which, whatever he thinks is best for his career, I ain't bothered. England, we've done it to other countries plenty of times. If we lose one, we lose one.
Yeah. Ajax have drawn young boys. Ajax, who are without Sebastian Haller because they didn't register him. They just forgot about him.
Because they forgot. That's like that's peak. The end of when Leeds were truly falling apart with all the financial troubles and stuff. That's the sort of thing we did. Like, we lost Scott Carson to Liverpool for no money because we forgot to give Scott Carson a new contract. That appears to be what Ajax have done.
Slavia Prague have got Rangers, who, fair play to Rangers, they've done a fantastic job this season in the SPL.
Yeah, Steven Gerrard auditioning for Liverpool job well.
Yeah, for when Jurgen Klopp gets fired at summer.
No, he won't get fired, he'll quit.
To be fair, what did he say? When he signed, I'm sure he said something like, I am going to do 6 seasons at Liverpool and then I will go manage in the Swiss League.
Well, I don't think that will happen, but I think that what might happen is I could see the Germany job coming available.
You think Joachim Low will leave?
Yeah, I could see that finally becoming available, and it wouldn't shock me if I tried to get Klopp for that. And with the stress of it all for Klopp, it won't. I don't actually think he'll go, but I wouldn't be shocked if he called it a day at the end of this season.
Yeah. Dynamo Zagreb have got Tottenham. You would expect Spurs to go through in that.
They should be fine for that.
Olympiacos versus Arsenal. Olympiacos, I'm pretty sure, knocked Arsenal out last year as well.
Yeah, they scored really late on, didn't they, at the Emirates, in a game where like Arsenal were pressing, had all the pressure, and they hit them on the break and scored.
Yeah, because Aubameyang missed an absolute sitter right beforehand.
Yeah.
Granada have got Molde, and Roma have got Shakhtar.
Yeah, I'd like Molde to get through. I like Molde for no real reason other than on various. They've always had like good youngsters and stuff on various computer games when I was growing up, And Pontus Jansson is a massive Mulder fan. And as much as he isn't at Leeds anymore, I still really like Pontus Jansson.
To be fair, I was looking at the Granada side when this tie was came through because I wanted to see who's more likely to go through. And they've got decent players. They've got Roberto Soldado still there. Kennedy, that former Chelsea midfielder.
One of the is he still on loan or have they actually signed him?
I think he's still on loan. I'm sure this is like his third Spanish
so
league
I've just seen it. He's on loan from Chelsea. I mean, Kennedy is now 25 years old and signed for Chelsea in 2015. He's still on all the loan deals. They've also got that Domingos Keenan, haven't they, on loan from Watford, who always looks really good.
To be honest, they have got a really good side. That Darwin Matches that they've got on, he's put down as a striker, but I think he plays left wing for them. He's got a ton of pace.
Yeah.
They also have that Jesus Valero that was on loan at Wolves last season from Real.
Yeah.
Centre back. The Brazilian Van Ginkel. Yeah. To be fair, Kennedy is the Brazilian Van Ginkel. To be honest, there were a spell when he were on loan at Newcastle where he looked all right.
Yeah.
And I thought he'd get a move to a lower league Premier League side. But Chelsea don't like to sell players.
No, not when because they know that they'll still eventually be able to sell them on to someone. They'll probably give him a new contract in for something.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, I think that'll do us for this episode of Stand Your Ground. As always, make sure that you go over to Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook and follow WTBdotcom. Go to YouTube and subscribe to the Buzz's YouTube channel where this also goes live. And make sure you go to WTBdotcom to read all the fantastic articles. Obviously, we can't plug it without saying make sure that you go and follow at Mighty Whites Pod on Twitter as well. They've been live streaming your podcast recently as well, but you also put them out as audio only, don't you?
Yeah. They go up on basically every audio platform other than Acast.
But yeah, so thank you to Jack from the Mighty Whites podcast for coming on today.
No worries, mate. Good to be here.
Casey at some point might be back. We don't know. He might do a Bakeley and just leave. Just never come back.
I would hope that he's available for next one because I'm on nights next Sunday, so I'm probably not.
Fingers crossed, or else I'll be doing another solo show.
And no one wants that. Good God, no one wants that.
But that'll do us, guys. So thank you for tuning in. Make sure that you come and tune in next Sunday at the same time, where hopefully I will have another guest. But yeah, been joined by Jack.
In a bit.
And we'll